Hello everyone, my name is Joshua Spichak, and I'm a cybersecurity analyst and Blue Team content creator. And today we're going to be covering the blame game, why hackers be hacking KC7 game. So to access this game, you need a KC7 account. So what you will do is you will go to browse all games when you have created your account, and then scroll down, and you will find the blame game. So for this game, the difficulty is easy, duration is 30 minutes, level required is 0, and these are the players who have played it. Also, the games have really helpful and beneficial features, so I'm going to discuss about one of them. One of them is report issue, so you click on this. And what this does is that you'll be able to report any issues that you're having with this game, such as if something is broken, wrong or confusing content, layout display problem, or other, and then you can describe what happened. Also, for safety purposes, please don't include passwords or other sensitive info, and then do the CAPTCHA correctly, and then send the report. And a KC7 team member will be more than happy to help you out with the issue that you are encountering for the game. Awesome. Alright. Now pertaining to the game itself, every cyber attack has a who and a why. Knowing the difference between a nation state quietly living in your network and a 22-year-old calling your help desk pretending to be IT changes everything about how you respond, what you prioritize, and how scared you should be. Hint: you should be scared of both. In this module, you'll meet the four threat actor categories security professionals actually use, see why the lines blur between them in practice, and apply the framework to 5 real groups from 2024 and 2025. And this is the learning objectives here. So that being said, let's start playing this game. Awesome. Alright. And shout out to the contributors to this game because they're the ones who have created this game. So all credit goes to them. And I wanted to shout them out for the amazing work that they did with this game. Also, I've already completed this game, but don't worry, I'm going to help you guys walk through how I answered the questions so that way you understand how to get to the answer. So let's play again. This is going to be fun. And yes, that's me. Replace game. And that should be able to start from the beginning. Or replace game. Am I? I know you can do it. Or not. And no. Alright. There is 3 sections for this game. Each game varies in terms of sections. So that being said, let's get started with section 1, meet the suspects. Alright, so question 1, there we go. Every cyber attack has a who and a why. For most organizations, attribution doesn't really matter. It's good enough to focus on how you can defend yourself, but from an academic perspective, it usually is useful to understand why attackers do what they do, so that way we can make sense of why we even have to defend ourselves in the first place. When you start to understand who is behind an attack and why they chose this moment to strike, the whole incident starts to make more sense. The logs stop looking like random noise and start to read like a trail left by someone with a plan. You begin to see how their motive shapes every move they make, how it influences what you should focus on first, and how much time you really have before things start sliding out of your control. It becomes less about chasing alerts and more about reading motive and intent. You're stepping into the attacker's story, trying to catch up before they make their next move. In this module, you'll learn to tell 4 types of threat actors apart, understand why the lines between them blur, and practice applying that framework to real groups you actually encounter in the field. By the end, you won't just know the categories, you'll know why they're hard to apply and what to do with that uncertainty. So let's type let's hunt to get started, and if you type let's hunt and click submit, you'll get the answer correct. Additionally, there's another really helpful feature that I want to talk about, and it is stuck as a question. So let's click on it. Alright, if you don't know what Discord is or have Discord, don't worry, I'm going to help you guys better understand what Discord is. So Discord is a free chat platform where the KC7 community gathers to help each other learn cybersecurity. If you are completely stuck on a question, this is a place you can ask other real humans for some assistance. Our volunteers and experienced players are there to guide you when you get stuck. Now before you ask for help, please try the following first. First, read the question carefully, please. Make sure you understand what's being asked. 2, spend some time struggling. try solving it yourself first. That's how you learn. 3. Look for a hint. Click the question icon if available. 4. Use the right channel. Use the right channel for the game you're playing. For example, if you're playing a Rap Beef, use the Rap Beef channel. 5. Check the analyst notes. Click the light bulb icon for detailed guidance. And 6. Do some Googling. Search for the concepts or techniques mentioned in the question. Also, when asking for help, describe what you've tried so far. Share your approach to query, not just I'm stuck. Mention which question you're working on. And be patient. Volunteers respond when they can. Also, last but not least, please don't ask for direct answers. Our community is here to guide you, not solve challenges for you. Learning comes from working through problems, and if you want to join the Discord, which I have done, there is a lot of friendly and supportive people there to support you. So, this is how you join the Discord community. Alright, so that being said, let's get moving on to question 2. Awesome. Alright, before we talk about who's attacking, let's talk about what they want. That question, more than any technical indicator, tells you what type of attacker you're dealing with. There are 4 main categories security professionals use to classify threat actors: state actors, cybercriminals, insider threats, and hacktivists. Each has a different primary motivation, and that motivation shapes everything from their target selection to how long they're willing to wait before striking. Later in this module, you'll see why these categories get complicated, but you need to understand the foundation first. So that being said, let's answer the question: which of the following is not a primary motivation category used to classify threat actors? And we have a hint. And our hint is, think about what each option describes. One of these is a skill level, not a motivation. And we also have another really helpful feature, which is analyst notes. So what analyst notes does is it provides you more background information for the question that you're on, so that you overall better understand the context. So for this question, Script Kiddie describes the technical sophistication of an attacker, not their motivation. A Script Kiddie might be a hacktivist, a criminal, or just a bored teenager. Motivation and capability are 2 different axes, and conflating them leads to bad threat modeling. So this information, the answer is going to be Script Kiddie. Nice. Alright, next. Awesome. Alright, question 3. Nation-state actors. Nation-state actors are government-sponsored or government-directed hackers. They have resources that most criminal groups can't match: dedicated infrastructure, full-time teams, access to zero-day vulnerabilities, and no fear of domestic prosecution. Their government protects them, funds them, and sometimes hands them their target list. A classic example is China's APT-41, which has conducted economic espionage against pharmaceutical, technology, and defense companies. Another is Russia's APT-28, known as Fancy Bear, which targeted the 2016 U.S. presidential election. These groups operate with patience measured in months and objectives measured in geopolitical outcomes. Nation-state actors are also sometimes referred to as advanced persistent threats. So what does the P in APT stand for? Well, we have it. It stands for persistent, and that's our answer. Send it out. Advanced persistent threats. Awesome. Analyst notes. Here we go. APT is not just a label. It describes a real operational reality. These groups don't smash and grab. They get in, go quiet, and stay in for as long as it takes. Some APT intrusions aren't discovered for over a year. The average jail time, which is the time between initial access and detection, for sophisticated nation-state actions has historically been 200 plus days. These days, cybercriminals also tend to be both advanced and persistent. So some could argue that you can have criminal APTs. All right. Since we're talking about APTs, I'm going to show you guys a really helpful feature. It's called Threat Actor Username Search. But also, I found this really helpful website that I believe you guys should bookmark. It is OSINT Tools Library. So if you wanted to learn more about OSINT and have these tools, please do use them for legal purposes for OSINT. To learn more about what you're trying to learn about, highly recommend this. This is just a really great website that has everything you need in terms of usernames, cyber threat intelligence, there we go, and much, much more. So Highly recommend bookmarking this because they have a lot of tools on OSINT, such as, for example, for cyber threat intelligence OSINT. Cyber threat intelligence OSINT, open source intelligence, focuses on collecting and analyzing publicly available data on cyber threats, including malware campaigns, data breaches, exposed credentials, and threat actor activity. So that being said, we're going to use the threat actor username search, which is a simple OSINT tool that checks whether a username has been observed on known cybercriminal forums and underground platforms. So the way in which that tool works is that we're going to type in APT41 because that's our, yes, APT director. All right, what if I do, no, director's archive. What if I do APT41? Oh, what if I, hold up. Software, right, actor search. I should have it. We're at threat actors and ransomware groups. And if I search here, APT41. I'll give them time for it to do the searching. There we go. Dark web profile, APT41. Alright, APT. Alright, click on this. And more. Alright, because it does not stick, it has been reportedly linked to espionage and finance motivated. There you go. Alright, APT41. APT41 is a long-running and highly capable threat actor, active since at least 2007. The group is distinguished by conducting simultaneous state-aligned espionage and financially motivated cybercrime operations. The motivation is here: target countries, target sectors, attack type, and TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures. And also, I really recommend the SOC Radar website. They have a lot of great resources, free tools. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's just that they do a lot of great work. So I highly recommend checking them out. But yes, what this profile does is that it talks about who is APT41, what are APT41's targets, what are APT41's techniques, what are the campaigns related to APT41, what are the mitigation techniques against APT41, right here. And then, how can SOC Radar help? And what are the minor attack technique TTPs of APT41? So we're going to use this website to better understand the threat actors, and groups. But I just wanted to let you guys know that there is a really helpful website for you guys to better understand the concepts described in the game. Awesome. All right, next. And then also if we do APT28, so if we take APT28, and then if I just copy this, copy, new tab to the right. Yes, thank you. And describe this group more in depth. APT28. Fancy Bear. There we go. Core objectives. Major historical campaigns. Tactics, techniques, and procedures. Okay, so we're going to use PICOS. AP28, cyber threat profile, and detailed TTPs. Yes. Okay, very detailed. Awesome. Alright, what are the major activities of the AP28 group? Which minor attack techniques are used by AP28? How PICOS? What are the aliases of the AP28 group? Key takeaways, and frequency asked questions here. And also, if you wanted to learn more about what APT28 is specifically, yeah, this website is awesome. In description. APT28 has established itself as one of the most persistent and adaptable threat groups active today, operating across political and diplomatic landscapes for more than a decade. So you can read more about what is APT28 and much, much more. So I highly recommend checking out the PICOS website and SOC Radar because they will help you provide, because they will provide a lot of really helpful information in really clear detail, and it's very comprehensive. Awesome. All right. Moving on. All right. Question 4. Some state actors deliberately disguise their operations to look for financial motivated crime. They demand ransoms, they steal cryptocurrency, they mimic the tools and tactics of criminal groups so that investigators follow the wrong trail. If responders are chasing a ransomware group, they're not building a case against the government. The most decorated example of this is North Korea. Facing international sanctions and desperately needing foreign currency, the North Korean government turned to cybercrime as economic policy. The group carrying out this operation is known as Lazarus Group. Also, North Korea state actors were notoriously responsible for hacking Sony prior to the release of the movie The Interview, which would have been embarrassing for their leader. Lazarus Group has stolen from banks, crypto exchanges, and gaming platforms. They've deployed ransomware. By the numbers, they look like a financially motivated criminal syndicate, but the money goes to the North Korean regime, and the operations are directed by the Reconnaissance General Bureau, which is a military intelligence unit. Alright, let's answer the question. Lazarus Group is described as state-sponsored. Who sponsors them? And we can see here, the money goes to the North Korean regime, and their operations are directed by the Reconnaissance General Bureau, a military intelligence unit. So that's going to be our answer. Oh yes. Which country faces severe international sanctions and has turned to hacking as a way to generate revenue? North Korea. Bam. Analyst notes. I highly recommend reading all of this, but just know, the one thing that I want you guys to take from this is that this matters because the response options available to victim states depend on whether an attack is classified as criminal activity or a state act. Yes, you may roll your eyes at our use of Lazarus Group because it is such a watered down name at this point, but it serves the illustrative purpose. So if we use director, there we go, the resources, and then we do web index. I believe it's this one, yes. Radar. Get it? We have radar. Stop radar. Oh, I'm here already. I should be here. Alright, there we go. Search. Lazarus Group. I think I spelled it correctly. Hopefully I did. I did not. That's on me. Let's do it again. There you go. Alright. Lazarus Group information. Dark web profile, top 10 APT groups in 2025, and much, much more. Here we go. Lazarus Group latest cyber espionage tactics, fake job hunt to LinkedIn. You can learn more about Lazarus Group's latest cyber espionage tactics involving LinkedIn, the tactic, cross-platform deployment, indicators of compromise, how it can be mitigated, and much, much more. So yeah, awesome. So that's one example of how to use this platform to understand Lazarus Group more. There you go. Yes. And Seacraft APT 37 and much, much more. Yeah, like I said, highly recommend this website. It provides you really helpful, beneficial information. And if we use AI, please describe this more in depth. Let me maximize this. The Lazarus Group also tracks APT 38, Hidden Cobra, Trader, Labyrinth, Cholima, or Dimerset. I got those right. Awesome. It's a prolific state-sponsored advanced persistent threat APT organization. And there is much more information, such as core objectives and subunits, infamous historical campaigns, the evolution into crypto warfare, tactics, techniques, and procedures. And there we go. So like I said, highly recommend these websites because I want to show you guys really helpful features, really helpful resources. There we go. So our answer is going to be North Korea. Nice. All right. Now let's talk about cybercriminals and clear up the biggest misconception about them. They're not lone hackers in basements. Modern ransomware operations look more like logistic companies than underground gangs to help developers, operators, recruiters, negotiators, and customer service representatives. They run affiliate programs with revenue splits. They are dark web postings with competitive pay and performance reviews. Here. Alright, this business model that made all of this possible is called ransomware as a service, or RaaS. It works exactly like it sounds. Ransomware developers build the malware, maintain the infrastructure, and lease it out to affiliates who do the actual intrusions. Affiliates keep 60 to 80% of whatever ransom they collect. The operator takes the rest and never has to touch a victim network. This separation split the people who build the weapons from the people who use them, and it dramatically lowered the barrier to entry for anyone who wants to run a ransomware campaign but doesn't know how to write malware. Alright, so what does RaaS stand for? It stands for Ransomware as a Service. That's our hint. Think about what legitimate SAS stands for and apply the same pattern. Analyst notes here. Awesome. Alright, this is the question. This is the information to help you better understand what the RaaS model is. Sweet. And if we type in here, please break down what RaaS is and provide helpful resources to better understand the concept. Alright, RaaS stands for Ransomware as a Service. It is a cybercriminal business model that functions almost exactly like legitimate software as a service products such as Microsoft 365 or Salesforce, but for distributing ransomware. So this is how the ransomware model works. You have the operators, which is developers, and the affiliates, which are the renters. And the key components of a RaaS operation are customer support desk, affiliate dashboards, data leak sites, and then helpful resources to better understand RaaS, technical frameworks and government guides, industry reports and threat intelligence, engaging podcasts and case studies. Awesome. And here's some resources right here. Highly recommend checking these out, and this is going to help you better understand the RaaS, Ransomware as a Service model. Oh my God. Let me scroll down. I scrolled too much. That was the last group. It's going to help you better understand the Ransomware as a Service model. Awesome. Alright, next. Alright. A modern ransomware attack does not start with encryption. It ends there. By the time a victim's files are locked and a ransomware appears on screen, the attacker has typically been in the network for days or weeks. During that time, they've mapped the environment, escalated their privileges, identified the most valuable data, and exfiltrated a copy of it. All of that happens before the encryption switch gets flipped. This setup enabled a tactic called double extortion, pay to get your files back. And if you don't pay, the attacker publishes the stolen data publicly. Some groups have added a third layer, which is notifying your customers or regulators directly to create additional pressure. There's also an entire specialty profession called initial access brokers, or IEBs. These are hackers who break into corporate networks and then sell that access to other criminals rather than using it for themselves. The intrusion and the extortion are often carried out by completely different people. So that answers the question. What is a tactic called where an attacker both encrypts your data and threatens to publish it? And our hint is, think about how many threats are involved. The first is encryption. What's the second? We have our analyst notes, which is to help you better understand double extortion right here. Nice. Alright, our answer is going to be, this setup enabled a tactic called double extortion, which is pay to get your files back, and if you don't pay, the attacker publishes the stolen data publicly. So what the attacker will do is that first, they will encrypt your files, and then the attacker will then threaten you because they will say, hey, if you don't pay us back, we're going to publish your stolen data publicly. So the answer is going to be double extortion. Awesome. All right. Question 7. Let's do this. All right. One of the most famous ransomware attacks in US history hit Colonial Pipeline in May 2021. A DarkSide affiliate gained access to Colonial's network, moved through it quietly, and deployed ransomware that forced the company to shut down the largest fuel pipeline in the United States. The shutdown lasted 5 days. Fuel shortages spread across the southeastern U.S. People were filling gas cans at every station they could find, and the federal government declared a state of emergency. Got photos. And DarkSide issued a public statement saying they were apolitical and only motivated by money, and that they would be more careful about affiliate target selection in the future. They shut down shortly after, likely under significant pressure. So how many days was Colonial Pipeline shut down? You have the answer. Shutdown lasted 5 days. 5. Awesome. The answer is in the paragraph above. Nice. And endless notes to help you better understand Colonial Pipeline. And this is really helpful information. Colonial Pipeline also demonstrated that RaaS affiliates act independently of their operators, creating accountability gaps. DarkSide claimed they hadn't intended to hit critical infrastructure. Their affiliate did it anyway using their tools. Alright. Insider threats. Alright. Insider threats are the silent patient killers of entire networks. The enemy already sitting behind your firewall with a badge and a smile. Anyone with legitimate access can become the breach. Employees, ex-staff whose accounts never got nuked, contractors, vendors, all of them already passed your defenses you spent years building. Some insiders go rogue, stealing data for cash, sabotaging systems out of spite, or selling access to nation states and criminal crews. Others don't mean harm, but still leech it. One sloppy click, one exposed credential, one misconfigured system, and suddenly you're reading headlines about another unforeseen catastrophe. It's the same playbook behind engineers walking out of Google with AI models. And if you want to learn more about that, you can click here to learn more about that. And a fake dream job lure that helped North Korea crack XI Infinity wide open. And with foreign intelligence sliding into LinkedIn DMs, direct messages like it's a recruitment marketplace, MI5 literally had to launch a national campaign to warn people. So you click this, learn more about that. Awesome. And the line between outsider and insider has evaporated. The most dangerous threat in the building is the one you never see coming until the blast radius is already growing. So how can insider threats be categorized based on intent? Alright. Think about whether the insider means to cause harm or not. Categorize on intent. Alright, we have here. Anyone who doesn't execute can become the breach. Some of them go rogue. Some of them are bad people, and others still mean harm but still unleash it. So we got negligent, and we got malicious. Sometimes they're like, why? And other times they're like, they go full rogue. Also, there's another helpful resource that I want you guys to better understand. And also, this is to help you understand what insider threats are. Awesome. Which is going to be the insider threat framework. It should be open source. Insider threat framework initiative. Nice. I believe. Let me see if I can find it. Insider threat matrix. Okay. So if I do matrix, and here we go. This is going to help us better understand insider threats more, so we can learn more about the motives, the means, the preparation, the infringement, anti-forensics. And if we click on these, yeah, we'll learn more about them. We'll learn more about it. So I highly recommend this. It has a lot of really helpful information to help you better understand insider threats such as motives, means, preparation, infringements, and anti-forensics. There we go. Awesome. I'm going to bookmark this. Insiderthreatmatrix.org is the URL. And you can see here. Booyah. Nice. All right. Next. All right. Hacktivists don't chase profit or espionage, in theory at least. They chase impact. Using disruption as a spotlight to force the world to look at whatever injustice they believe is being ignored, their operations hit fast, loud, in publicity, turning defacements, leaks, and takedowns into digital protest art designed to dominate the narrative. The most popular example of this is Anonymous, the faceless collective that turned a Guy Fawkes mask into a global symbol of online rebellion. Over the years, Anonymous has launched operations against governments, corporations, extremist groups, and institutions all across the ideological spectrum, always framing their actions around themes like free speech, anti-censorship, and resistance to oppression. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Anonymous didn't stay quiet. Major news outlets reported that the collective declared a cyber war on Russia, launching waves of attacks against state media, government portals, and companies that continued operating in the country. Whether viewed as digital vigilance or chaotic activists, hacktivists like Anonymous show how ideology, anonymity, and global connectivity can collide to create a force capable of reshaping the cyber landscape in a single night. And it's right here. Okay, the question. Anonymous is described as decentralized. What does that mean in context? Well, what that means is that Anonymous does not have leadership. Yes. So, because they have no central. Think about the opposite of decentralized. What structure has no leader and no headquarters? They have no central leadership. Awesome. The answer, yes. The decentralized nature of Anonymous makes it very different from most directors from a law enforcement perspective. For instance, you cannot take down Anonymous by arresting its leader because there isn't one. Although individual members have been arrested in multiple countries, the collective continues operating. This structure also makes attribution extremely difficult. Anyone can claim to be anonymous for any attack, including state actors who want cover. There you go. So that's our answer. They have no central leadership. All right. Section 2, know your enemy. There is 3 questions. So let's get started. All right. Question 1. You've just learned 4 attack categories, but of course, real life is a lot more messy. The categories often blur. Some of the most dangerous threat actors in the world don't fit cleanly into one bucket. They have multiple motivations, shift tactics depending on the target, or deliberately obscure what they're really after. KillNet is a good example. They emerged in early 2022 at the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. They described themselves as patriotic volunteers defending Russian interests through DDoS attacks, the governments, hospitals, and airports. They denied any ties to the Kremlin. Their operations aligned precisely with Russian strategic interests. They targeted exactly the countries and organizations supporting Ukraine. And they maintained a military-like organizational structure with a hierarchy, subgroups, and a Telegram channel with tens of thousands of subscribers. KillNet looks like hacktivists, but their behavior raises a question. So with that being said, let's answer the question based on the description above. What is the most accurate label for KillNet? And we have a hint. There may not be a clean answer here. Pick the label that fits best, given what you know. We're going to go with hacktivists because of the way that they are described. And if we click on them to learn more, Russian hacker group KillNet returns with new identity to learn more about them. Leadership transition, ideology to profit. So they were hacktivists now, But also, if I believe we can type. Let me see if I can count it. If I can. Okay, I spelled this right. Give some time. There we go. Killing it. Mr. Hamza. Operation Eastward. And much, much more. There we go. And if I do, I believe if I do this, it should work. Killing it. Killing it. There you go. Killnet found on 3 sources: breached, dark forums, and rehub. So if I click this, there you go. Interactive usernames, Killnet. And find where they operate. This is where they operate. Cool. And just to break it down more, what is Killnet? And could you please explain it with providing additional resources? As well. Nice. Alright, your top 10 web results for exploring this topic. Attack to healthcare and banking guards. Killnet affiliated hacktivist groups targeting healthcare with DDoS. That's going to be your answer. Hacktivists. And much, much more. Highly recommend bookmarking the resources that I mentioned in this room so far. And don't feel like using AI is bad. AI is really helpful to help you better understand the concepts if you use it right. So if you use AI like me, you can better understand the concepts and you'll get very helpful resources as well. Awesome. All right, hacktivists. Yay. All right, 2. On February 9th, 2018, as the Winter Olympics opened in, I think, Pyeongchang, hopefully I pronounced that right, South Korea, attackers quietly tore through the game's IT infrastructure. Wi-Fi cut out, the official app stopped working, the press center lost access, and TV broadcasts went dark, all in the middle of the opening ceremony. Investigators will later call the malware behind it Olympic Destroyer. And when security researchers began pulling the code apart, they found what looked like fingerprints from last year's group. The well-known North Korean state hacking collective, along snippets that resemble the work of a Chinese director. Different firms reached different conclusions, and for a while, attribution was generally unclear. Alright, so to help you guys better understand what attribution is, what is attribution pertaining to threat intelligence? Alright, what is attribution? Let me explain. Attribution is the process of tracking, identifying, and assigning responsibility for a cyber attack or cyber espionage campaign to a specific actor, group, or nation state. Basically, what attribution does is it answers the question, who did this? There's levels of attribution right here: technical, operational, and strategic. How analysts achieve attribution using the diamond model, such as understanding the adversary, capability, infrastructure, and victim. Why attribution matters: because of predictive defense, geopolitical consequences, and legal insurance requirements, and much, much more. Awesome. Alright, here we go. It was eventually traced back to Sandworm, a unit of Russian military intelligence. The North Korean and Chinese code fragments hadn't appeared by default. They were planted deliberately. Designed to send investigators chasing the wrong countries, Russia's motive wasn't hard to understand. South Korea had just banned Russian athletes from competing over the state doping scandal, and the opening ceremony made for a very public target. So what is the term for planting misleading evidence in malware to make it appear to come from a different attacker? Maybe a hint. Do some Googling here. I love it. Analyst notes. One of the most sophisticated false flag separations ever. And so I believe this is going to be our answer. And here's a good article from right on this. Awesome. And I believe our answer is going to be, I saw false flag. So that's going to be our answer. Nice. But let's do some answering. Oh yes. False flags. How attackers intentionally frame other groups. So please explain more about false flags. In cyber threat intelligence, a false flag is an intentional tactical deception where a threat actor implants misleading evidence into a cyber operation to mimic a different group, frame an incident party, or evade attribution. And because cybersecurity analysts heavily rely on tactical indicators to track attackers, advanced persistent threats, APTs, use false flags to manipulate those data points, intentionally misdirecting investigators and creating geopolitical confusion. So this is the common techniques used to plant false flags. Infamous real-world examples of cyber false flags, which we saw here. And how analysts spot the deception. And that is the really helpful information. Awesome. False flags. Nice. All right, question 3. False flags are a strategic choice. When a nation state plants evidence pointing to a criminal group, investigators spend their time hunting cyber criminals. When they point to a rival nation state, they create diplomatic friction between two countries that had nothing to do with the attack. When they demand ransoms and steal crypto, they generate revenue and cover at the same time. From the defender's perspective, the practical lesson is not that attribution is impossible. It is that attribution is hard, requires evidence from multiple independent sources, and should be held with appropriate confidence levels. A signal technical indicator pointing at a group is not a confident attribution. Your job in most security rules is not to name the attacker, it is to understand what they were after, stop the bleeding, and build defenses that hold regardless of who sent the attack. Alright, so true or false? A defender's primary job during an active incident is to determine which nation state is possible. And we have a hint. Think about what actually stops the attack and protects the organization right now. So it's going to be false. Nice. Analyst notes. Alright. Attribution has real value, but it is primarily a policy and intelligence function rather than an incident response function. During an active incident, the priority order is contain the threat, eject the attacker, restore operations, then investigate. However, attribution analysis typically happens in parallel or after the incident is contained. And defenders who spend active incident time debating which APT is responsible instead of remediating often regret it. Yes. Now you're going to apply the framework to 5 real groups. For each one, you'll receive a short profile and choose the best fit category. Some are clean, some aren't. So starting with a clean one, Volt Typhoon. Volt Typhoon is a Chinese state-sponsored group first identified and tracked by Microsoft. Since at least 2021, they have quietly compromised U.S. critical infrastructure, including water systems, energy grids, transportation networks, and communications. And this is what the group relies on. And FBI Director Christopher Wray described Volt Typhoon as a defining threat of our generation during congressional testimony in 2024. So which attacker category best describes Volt Typhoon? It is a state-sponsored actor. Yes, state-sponsored group. Awesome. Alright, so look at what they're doing inside networks and what they are not doing. 5 years of access and no ransom demanded. With a hint. And those notes. Alright, Volt Typhoon is the clearest modern example of nation-state actors targeting critical infrastructure for pre-conflict positioning rather than intelligence collection or financial gain. Alright, so living up the land technique using legitimate system tools like PowerShell, WMIC, and NetSH rather than custom malware makes detection extremely difficult because the activity looks like normal administrative behavior. And the US government disrupted one of their botnets in early 2024. Volt Typhoon rebuilt it, and persistence is the whole point. Alright, so let me explain more about living off the land because that is really beneficial to understand. And there's a really helpful website called LOBins. Our LS common include the LOBAS project, yes. So what this does is that it contains living off the land binaries, scripts, and libraries. Also, you can click more about the project right here. So click on that. Alright, so what this does is that the goal of the LOBAS project is to document every binary, script, and library that can be used for living off the land techniques. This criteria right here. the history of LLBin, and much, much more. All credit goes to the contributors and everyone associated with this, so all credit goes to them. If you want to check out their GitHub, you can find it here. But like I said, all credit goes to them. And this is the LLBAS project. So this is going to help you better understand the living off the land binaries, scripts, and libraries. So if we were to click on, for example, we talked about PowerShell. So let's go find PowerShell. Let's go find MSHTA or WMIC. There we go. WMIC.exe. And it gives us an understanding of what it is. The WMI command line utility provides a command line interface for WMI. We got the path here. We got helpful resources. We got details for detection, alternative data streams, execute, how it can be used for LO bands, for living off the land, and copying. Awesome. Use case, privileges required, operating system, and attack technique. Nice. So like I said, highly recommend this website because it's going to help you better understand living off the land techniques, living off the land binaries, scripts, and libraries. And this is, well, I'm going to bookmark this. LBAS. Hold up. Come on. There we go. Nice. LBAS. There we go. Awesome. I say sponsored actor. Sweet. Alright, we got 6 questions. Let's do this. Alright. Salt Typhoon. Salt Typhoon is a Chinese state-sponsored group attributed by CISA to Chinese Ministry of State Security and named by Microsoft. Between 2023 and 2024, Salt Typhoon compromised at least 9 U.S. telecommunications providers, including AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Rather than targeting customer data such as credit card numbers or passwords, they focus on the lawful intercept systems telecom companies use to comply with court-ordered surveillance requests. And through this access, they obtain call metadata on more than 1 million users, primarily in the Washington, D.C. metro area, including staff from both 2024 presidential campaigns, as well as the personal phones of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And the chair of the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee described the incident as the worst telecom hack in our nation's history. In January 2025, the U.S. Treasury sanctioned a Chinese company linked to the operation. So what attacker category best describes Salt Typhoon? And the answer is going to be same as Salt Typhoon. It is a state-sponsored group, which means state-sponsored actor. Nice. Alright, hint. Look at what they targeted: law enforcement surveillance systems and senior government officials' communications. Who benefits from that kind of intelligence? It's going to be state-sponsored actor. We have analyst notes. Yes, both are Chinese state-sponsored. Both are active in 2024. Both named by Microsoft. And both represent different mission profiles, which can be found here. And understanding that nation-state actors are not monolithic, they have specialized units with different missions, is a key part of their intelligence work. Got it. Nice. Alright, question 3. Scattered Spider. Scattered Spider, tracked by CrowdStrike, Microsoft calls him Octotempest. Go with it. Is a loosely organized group of English-speaking young people, mostly 19 and 25 years old, based in the US and UK. They don't write novel malware, they call help desks. They impersonate employees, they SIM swap phones to defeat MFA. They bomb users with authentication prompts until they give in. Once inside, they deploy ransomware from RaaS partners and demand payment. In September 2023, they hit MGM resorts by calling the IT help desk, impersonating an employee, and getting credentials reset. MGM lost over $100 million. Caesars Internet paid them a $50 million ransom in the same month. In 2025, they were linked to an attack on Marks and Spencer that took down payment systems across 1,000 UK systems for weeks. CrowdStrike and Microsoft were both called in to respond. And 5 members were indicated by the DoD in November 2024. So which attacker category best describes the Scattered Spider? We have a hint. Think about their motivation and business model. Are they after intelligence, ideology, or money? So I'm going to go with ransomware because, here we go. Once inside, they deploy ransomware from RaaS partners and demand payment. That means ransomware. Awesome. Okay, notes. Primary threat actor. And yes, this is going to help you better understand Scattered Spider. Nice. Sweet. There we go. Awesome. Alright. This one is hard, but we got this. Let's do this. Alright, this one is hard. Think carefully. Famous Cholima, hopefully I pronounced that right, is North Korean state-sponsored actor tracked by CrowdStrike. Their operation works differently from traditional espionage campaigns. North Korean operatives use AI-generated or stolen identities, forged documents, and deepfake video technology to secure remote IT jobs at Western technology companies. Once hired, they perform just enough legitimate work to remain employed and continue receiving salaries. They also install remote access tools, exfiltrate sensitive data, and funnel those salaries back to Pyongyang to fund North Korea's weapons programs. And CrowdStrike reported it on Microsoft's will. In 2024, a Nashville man was indicated by running a laptop farm. He received laptops shipped by companies that had just hired what they thought were US-based developers, but they forwarded those laptops to North Korean operators and handled the money transfers. The DOJ has indicated participants across multiple countries. And so, which attacker categories best describes famous Cholima? So we got what's hired? Yes, North Korean state sponsored. So we got state sponsored actor, and once they are inside, yes, once they secure remote IT jobs, and once hired, they perform the legitimate work, but they do stuff from North Korea. So insiders, right? Yes. We have a hint. Think about how they get inside the organization. Now think about who is directing the operation and where the money goes. Does either answer alone feel complete? We got a hint. Nice. Fair studio is the hardest inside on purpose because the lines blur. And also, I believe I can type famous Cholima. Let's go here. Boom. Foreign security validation. Yes, it's me. Alright. Waiting for sock.io to respond. Please do. And here we go. This article analyzes the latest clickbait, Pyongyang, and Golden Ghosts. Deep threat group right here. Cholima APT group uses AI filters to infiltrate crypto. And we talk about more in depth. And here is the threat actor group for Lazarus group. And the Cholima group targets specific actors. Much more. Really helpful, beneficial information. Nice. Alright, so if I go back, I believe, yeah, Cholima, impersonation tactics, and who needs a job. There we go. And yeah, that helps you better understand what famous Cholima is. Nice. State-sponsored actor and insider threat. Cool. Alright, question 5. Last one. This case is relatively straightforward, but it highlights an important pattern to pay attention to. SledgeSec was a hacktivist collective active between 2022 and 2024, and documented in CrowdStrike's threat landscape reporting. The group explicitly targeted U.S. state government websites in response to domestic policy issues, particularly anti-transgender legislation. They leaked government documents, defaced websites, and claimed responsibility for attacks against government systems across multiple states. Their operations were consistently accompanied by public statements explaining their ideology and motivations. The group made no financial demands and had no confirmed government sponsor. In 2024, the collective announced that it was disbanding. Around the same period, GhostSec originally formed to target ISIS infrastructure. And both groups operated with clear ideological motivations and showed no apparent financial objective, and had no confirmed state backing. So this information, which attacker category best describes said seek, and it's going to be Oh, we have a hint. No tricks here. Ideology drives the targeting. No ransom. No state peg check. So that information, gonna be a hacktivist. Awesome. The analyst notes is right here. To better understand such sec. Nice. Cool. And if we use this, let's see if we can find sedge sec. Hopefully I spelled that right. I did. Nice. Alright, here we go. Sedge sec. RP, money laundering, cybercriminals, ships. Ghost sec. 5 families. And much, much more. Alright, like I said, highly recommend understanding. Oh, here we go. 5 hacker groups and 5 families. Hacker collaboration regarding defining the game. Alright, the 5 families. And threat actors united, the 5 families, threat sec, glow sec, stormless, backforms, and sedge sec. We got operations. We got members. We got sedge sec right here. Sedge sec is a hacktivist collective emerged coincidentally just days before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And under the leadership of the hacktivist known as Your and Wolf, the group swiftly gained strength, announcing an increase in number of victims after its inception. And conclusion, so you better understand them all as well. Really beneficial resource. Nice. Alright, hacktivist. And yes, this is the last one. Bear with it. That's question 6. So pretend you see a 6 right there. Awesome. Alright. You made it. Here's what you know now that you didn't before. There are 4 threat actor categories: nation state actors, cybercriminals, insider threats, and hacktivists. Each is driven by a core motivation that shapes its target selection, operational patience, and methods. The categories blur in practice. Nation states use criminal tools and demand ransomers. Hacktivists sometimes act as state proxies. Criminals get recruited by intelligence services. Insiders get manufactured wholesale by foreign intelligence agencies. Attribution is hard, sometimes deliberately so. Your job during an active incident is not to name the attacker, it is to stop the attack, understand what they were after, and build better defenses. The groups you met in this module are not theoretical. Volt Typhoon, Salt Typhoon, Scatter Spider, Famous Dilemma, and Sedge Sec are all active or recently documented groups with real victims in real reporting from Microsoft, CrowdStrike, and Management, and you will counter your successors and type on it to close out. Awesome! We have completed all the sections. Section 3, the lineup. Section 2, know your enemy. And Section 1, meet the suspects. And this is some of the resources that I used during my walkthrough to give all credit to. Insider Threat Matrix, Threat Actor Username, Cyber Threat Intelligence OSINT, the GitHub for Threat Actor resources, Stock Radar, love the resources, because AI, and LOBAS, and the GitHub can be found here. Awesome! Alright, go back. Alright, that's all I have for this walkthrough. I hope you enjoyed the blame game because it's really beneficial information. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough, and I will see you guys on the next walkthrough. Have a great day and keep up the great work. Peace.